They want Black people to suffer in silence. That's what they want from us, Black people. They want us to suffer, but they want us to shut up about it. How dare we open our mouths and complain about the constant disrespect, racism, oppression, systemic discrimination? How dare we open our mouths? We should just accept it. That is what it means to be Black. Don't you get that, sis? Don't you get that, king? Don't you get that, sibling? For my non-binary Black people out there, I love you. We are supposed to take it silently, endure it. Take the disrespect, take the racism, take the N-words, take all of it, and then show up with a smile on our face and put our bodies on the line to protect those people who are calling us N-words, to protect those people who are discriminating against us, to protect those people who are oppressing us and redlining us and preventing us from achieving the goals that we seek to achieve, although we still always do because we're them bitches. Me, a Black woman, made a post talking to other Black women about how frustrated I am about having to see the nonsense going on in Los Angeles that was so clearly avoidable. And I have non-Black people in my comments telling me, can you stop talking about this? Someone had the nerve to tell me that I'm rubbing it in their face. What the f*** mean I'm rubbing it in your face? Having a conversation between me and fellow Black women about how I feel and about how we feel. And we're rubbing our experience in your face. It's because you want us to shut the fuck up. That's what it is. Yes, you know that we're right. Yes, you know that you were wrong. But can us Negroes just shut the fuck up about it? That is the energy. That is the energy because they want us to suffer in silence. That's why they got so mad about Black people going back to Starbucks, because we were supposed to do our Negro duties, and we were supposed to shut the fuck up and suffer in silence. How dare we give them their same energy back? How dare we? How dare we not be the bigger person? Because as usual, us Negroes always have to be the bigger person. Y'all don't get to be so wrong that you destroy the fucking planet and don't have to hear about it. You gonna hear about this shit. Our big fat Black lips are gonna be jabbering, bitch. Get used to it, because it's about fucking time y'all start hearing about yourselves. Black people, they tell you to be quiet, talk louder.
She did not say anything that is wrong about this. They honestly want Black people to endure, They have tagged us as the most strongest ones, the ones that have to act as the adults, the big baby, the ones that literally do not want to talk. But they are shocked that we're sitting in our house, we are talking. We are walking, we are talking. We are eating, we are talking. We are sleeping, we are talking. We are doing anything, we are talking. Even when we are praying, we are talking. I keep asking a very simple question. For how long do you keep beating a child and expect that child not to cry? For how long do you keep maltreating someone and expect that person not to react? For how long do you keep quiet when you see every single thing that you have built falling on the ground? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. And credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. Disclaimers, educational purposes only. Let's go continue this video. I'll be back with commentaries.
White supremacy and racism rely on Black sympathy. Think about it, they brutalize us, criminalize us, talk down on us. And then the second that something happens to them, we are expected to be the bigger person, to have compassion, to forgive, to pray, right? But tell me where in the fuck that same sympathy is when a Black man is unalive and then called a thug, and in the media talked about his past transgressions in an effort to dehumanize him or her. When we protest, they call us violent. When we grieving, they tell us to get the fuck over it. But let one of their champions, quote unquote, fall somehow we're the heartless ones because we're not crying and grieving with them. That's not empathy, that's manipulation. And that is how white supremacy survives, by demanding our humanity while denying theirs to us. So, no, we do not owe sympathy or empathy to anybody whose platform was completely based on the oppression of us. Black compassion should not be the fuel that keeps white supremacy alive. And we need to stop expecting Black pain to come with Black sympathy.
Black people have been literally begging this country and all of its citizens to see us wholly, to hear us fully since the beginning of time. The struggle to be seen and respected in this country is so intrinsically woven throughout the fabric of who we are. It's motivating, inspiring, but somewhat depressing. If you think about how much it's affected the Black culture, from our music to artists like Nina Simone, all the way to Ice Cube, Public Enemy, Tupac, Kendrick Lamar, Curtis Mayfield, have spoken about our struggle and seeing us. Our books, we have authors like Zora Neale Hurston, Langston Hughes, Alex Haley, Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, Michael Harriot, Ta-Nehisi Coates now. Our television shows, there's not a television show that doesn't have classic scenes in it, whether it be from The Cosby Show to Sanford and Son, that talks about our struggle. Our academicians, our preachers, from Martin Luther King Jr. to Jesse Jackson to Jeremiah Wright to Eric Dyson. We have marched, we have written, we have sung, we have boycotted, we have had freedom rides, we have had civil disobedience, yes, we have gone silent, and we have screamed. We have died. Many of us have died just to get people to listen to our struggle and to make changes and to give us civil rights. And so I've been watching a lot of videos lately, and I hear people say, this isn't America. And it's always been our America. This has always been our America. I watched another video the other day, and there's a Latino woman crying, and she says, they're hunting us. We've always felt hunted. I've heard people complaining about what good, hardworking, decent people they are, and yet they're being defined by a very small minority who may have broken laws. It's exactly how we have felt. So we have sympathy and we have empathy, but this isn't new to us. We knew. We've known, which is why we begged, we pleaded, we wrote again, we marched again, we stood next to polls, we did everything. We were desperate because we knew, as we've always known, how bad it was going to be. Not how bad it could be, but when we were told, because everything that we're seeing now, we were told was going to be, nobody believed it, but we knew. We believed them because we had been living it. And so we begged, not for you to vote and to vote the best with the best option we had at the time. And not just to save us, because we've always been here, but really fighting to save you, to save this country, to save democracy. And you didn't listen then. And so you have to understand the frustration, the hesitancy to get but so involved. The only time you saw us is when you became us. And you too realize that you too are niggas. But we still don't know if you really see us. We still don't know if you've had that aha moment, that you recognize that we're all in this together. Or the minute that this country gets its foot off your necks, the minute you feel as if you have a chance at white adjacency again, will you desert us? Like, do you get it now? Or if we step up, if we try to unite with you and help, are you going to remember now? Because this isn't the first time that any groups have been discriminated against, but it seems to happen. And then as soon as white supremacy taunts you, you go back and you forget. So that you must understand is, how do we trust you? How do we trust you?
White people considered freedom a mental illness for people who were enslaved because they really thought that they were doing black people a favor by enslaving them. In 1851, Dr. Samuel Cartwright declared that escaping slavery was a disease called drapetomania. Men were flogged until their backs shredded. Women whipped, chained, screamed, branded. White doctors wrote it in journals as treatment. Freedom itself was illegal and pathologized as insanity. But on the other hand, white rebels screamed for liberty and got monuments. Black rebels were tortured, erased, and forgotten. This is the truth that they don't want you to know, but it's all in Black AF history, the unwhitewashed story of America. It's already sold out once this month, so if you see an orange or yellow card down below, that means it's still available.
When it comes to the job market in LA or California, there's a huge discrimination issue going on with Black Americans. Employers are not willing to hire Black Americans even if they are qualified. Even if they're overly qualified, they're still not willing to hire them. There's a hidden agenda at play here. We've seen an increase of employers only wanting to hire people from the Hispanic community, and there's nothing wrong with that because people have to work and provide for their family, but they're not doing it for the right reasons. They're doing it with the intention to control, because when it comes to fighting for injustices or speaking up about certain things, they feel like the Hispanic community is not going to speak up because they're normally quiet.
Yeah, and then you have Hispanics they don't want to hire black people. Let's just be real about that. There's over 170 class action lawsuits in California from Los Angeles to San Francisco with over 30% of the offenders against black people are Hispanics just simply because they won't hire them. Now, this is them working at somebody else's establishment, practicing these discrimination practices, and then this is them with their own companies just refusing to hire black people. You could just walk around Southern California, Los Angeles specifically, who's working the front office of these businesses. Go get a doctor appointment. Who's going to be in the front? Who's going to be the medical assistant? And it's not like black Americans don't have these certificates or licenses. It's just simply that they won't hire them, right? And we could talk about the state jobs, the county jobs, the city jobs. It's just, you're just closed out of the market, period. And last time I checked, isn't a white supremacist mayor of Los Angeles, isn't that a white supremacist? Oh, it's Karen Bass. Oh, she identifies as a black lady. And you know what? She's never going to address this issue because she don't want to mess with her Latino Hispanic fan base who she really advocate for.
I just could not live beside them. I don't feel that they should be oppressed. But I moved here, one of the main reasons was because it was a white community. And that's the only place I intend to live. If I have to leave Levittown, I will do so.
Personally, my home life, it has an effect nothing whatsoever. But on the neighbors, they have a right. Because the average white person living in Levittown has 4 and 5 children. Well, let's put it this way. If the Leviton is migrated in hordes of Negroes, which they have a right to come here, but if something that happens that way, pretty soon my neighbor will be having a Negro son-in-law or a daughter-in-law.
Now, that was the 1950s, Levittown, Pennsylvania. This country will have us believe that that was so far in the past that those people just disappeared. Now, a lot of folks say it's more about class and less about race, but we see in that example right there that in 1957, even if you had enough class status to be able to live in a neighborhood with those folks in Levittown, they didn't believe you was worthy enough regardless of your job. I just could not live by them. I don't think they should be oppressed, but I can't live by them. That sounds like a lot of good liberals and conservatives of today's time. The same speaking points. Think about it though. The suburbs of today was created back then in the 1950s, 1960s. There's a distribution of wealth and knowledge that's been passed from generation to generation to generation that still impacts how we live today. And to be clear, it wasn't that many generations ago. My grandmother was born in the 1950s. And her mother, the person that birthed her, was born in the 1930s. Not that far ago. A lot of folks that run the system right now was raised in times and by people like her right there. In conclusion, when we talk about white flight or gentrification or redlining, it's important to acknowledge that it's not just by policy, but also ideology. You see what I'm saying? Education is elevation. Constantly educated shirts available on the website.
They told me that the Holocaust was the worst thing to ever happen to humanity, and that's a lie. I grew up in New York, and from the time I was old enough to sit in a classroom, they began building a story in my mind, not gradually, not subtly, but deliberately. Field trips to the Holocaust Museum, mandatory screenings, books, films, survivor testimonies, year after year after year. From elementary school through high school, the message was consistent and it was clear. This was the worst thing that ever happened to a human being. They didn't frame it as one of the worst. They didn't present it alongside other atrocities for comparison. They didn't invite debate or critical thinking. They told a black child in New York whose ancestors were stolen, chained, sold, and broken across 400 years of systematic terror that someone else's tragedy was the pinnacle of human suffering. That's not education. That's indoctrination. And I was young enough and trusting enough and had no framework yet to question it. So I absorbed it like you absorb anything they hand to you before you're old enough to ask why. It took years to unlearn. Let's talk about scale for a second. The transatlantic slave trade, 12 to 15 million human beings were forcibly removed from their homes. Millions dead in transit, 400 years, not 12, 400. And it didn't end with emancipation. It evolved into sharecropping, into lynching, into redlining, into mass incarceration. The atrocity didn't stop. It just changed its name. I am not a descendant of something that happened. I'm a product of something that never stopped happening. And here's something else they didn't teach you. When they say Holocaust, they say 6 million. 6 million Jewish lives. And that is true. And that matters. But the number is 12 million. 12 million people were systematically murdered by the Nazi regime. The other 6 million were Roma people, people with disabilities, Soviet citizens, Polish people, gay people, Jehovah's Witnesses, and political prisoners, including some black people. Half the victims forgotten by the narrative. Even within the Holocaust itself, the story got edited, got narrowed, got shaped around one group suffering, while others who died in the same camps and the same gas chambers on the same trains got written out. If we can't tell the full story of the atrocity we claim to center, what does that tell you about how historical memory actually works? It tells you that even grief has a hierarchy. Even within genocide, some lives get a museum, some lives get the footnote. And it's not just black history that got buried. King Leopold's Congo, up to 10 million people killed, mutilated, enslaved for rubber, documented at the time, ignored by the West. The Armenian genocide, over 1 million dead. America took until 2021 to even officially call it what it was. The Herero Nama people in Nambia, Germany's first genocide of the 20th century against African people decades before the Holocaust. Ask your kids if they learned about it. Ask yourself. Rwanda, 800,000 people in 100 days. The West Watch chose not to intervene and moved on. The Rohingya, the Uyghurs in Yemen. The pattern never stops. So why does one story rise above all others in Western consciousness? Because the Holocaust is a story of white people killing white people. And that broke something in the Western imagination. European civilization, the self-proclaimed peak of human enlightenment, turned on itself. That required confrontation. That required museums and films and curriculum and remembrance days, because the myth of European progress needed explaining. But Black suffering, African suffering, Asian suffering, Arab suffering, that never threatened the myth. It was part of the logic that built it. The West didn't need to explain those deaths because those deaths were already written into the system as acceptable, as inevitable, as the cost of progress. I want to be clear that the Holocaust was real. The suffering was real. 12 million people murdered systematically. That matters. That should be taught. All 12 million, not 6. But so should the Congo, so should Armenia, so should the Middle Passage, so should what's happening right now, today, in places the evening news has already decided you don't need to care about. The question was never whether Jewish suffering mattered. The question is why Western civilization built an entire architecture of memory around one genocide while letting the others dissolve into footnotes. And even within that genocide, lets half of its victims dissolve too. The answer, the honest answer, if we're going to be honest, is that the value assigned to human suffering in the Western world has always been and continues to be filtered through race, through politics, through power. Whose grief gets institutionalized, whose museums get federal funding, whose story gets told in every classroom every year without fail. That's not history, that's power. And deciding who gets to be fully human. I was a Black child sitting in a classroom in New York being taught that someone else's pain was the worst pain in human history. Nobody taught me that my existence itself is a proof of an atrocity that the world has never fully reckoned with. Nobody taught me that even the atrocity they did teach, they only taught me half of. They should have. We all should have. Stay blessed.
You know, one thing I really do not know about white folks is the fact that they don't want you to say anything even when anything is happening. And the good thing I love about Black people, especially Black Americans, is the fact that they are not ready to keep quiet until their voices are being heard. And, you know, a lot of them thought that Black Americans recently started talking. No. Let's not get that. That is not how it is. Black people has been talking. Black people has been airing out. It's just that their voices were not loud enough for those of you at the back seat to hear us. Their voices were not loud enough for those of you in another section to hear us. So it doesn't mean that we have literally not been talking, right? I don't know if I'm getting all of that. Now, the difference between the talking then that we are doing and the talking now is the fact that now we are ready to make our voices louder. We are ready to use mic. We are ready to use anything. We are ready to stand and scream. We are ready to jump and stand on anything to let you that you are in the back seat know that there is something that is happening, that Black people, especially Black Americans, are no longer keeping quiet. Now let's dive deep into this research. The idea that Black people are no longer silent reflects a long historical shift, not something that suddenly started, but some things that has been building for generations. What changes is visibilities, tools, and corrective momentum. Let's start from the first one, which is a long history speaking out. Black Americans have never been silent. From slavery through segregation, people resistance in many ways. Enslaved people resisted through revolts, escape, and culture. The civil rights movement in the 1950s to 60s brought mass protests and legal changes. Leadership like Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X were very vocal. So the truth is, the voice has always been there. Oh my God. The voice have always been there. But now it is louder and harder to ignore. Let's talk about the social media amplified voice, where platforms like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok has changed everything. People can share experience instantly. Videos of injustice spread globally within minutes. Narratives are no longer controlled only by traditional media. This has made it harder for issues to be hidden and ignored. Are you getting where I am coming from? Let's talk about the third one, where the high-profile class spark outreach, where you literally see certain events pushing black people to speak out louder. The killing of George Floyd, the death of Breonna Taylor, and others. This became a global symbol of injustice and trigger whispered protests. Let's talk about the fourth one, where we have the rise of organized movements, where movements like Black Lives Matters give structures and unity, provide a platform for activism, connects people across cities and countries, and turn individual voices into a collective force. That is why I can never keep quiet. I can never be silent as long as I see any injustice being carried out to any black person or any black American. Let's talk about the increase of awareness and education, where more people today are learning about racism, the systemic racism, the economic inequality, the mass incarceration, access to information like book, documentaries, online content has made people, especially black Americans, more informed and more willing to speak. Let's talk about the cultural influence, confidence. Even with those of you that keep saying black Americans do not have culture, where are they really from if they really have culture? Let's talk about that. Black culture has strong global influence in music, fashion, sports, entertainment. This visibility has helped build confidence and pride, encouraging more black Americans to have an open expressions and less fear of black backlash. They should try it. Now let's talk about less fear and more accountability. In the past, speaking out could mean losing your job, violence or imprisonment. While risks still exist today, there are more legal protection, more alliance across different communities, and more public accountability for institutions. We're going to be talking about the global support and solidarities, where the struggles is no longer seen as just American. Oh God, people turn around the world to support racial injustice movement, protests happening globally, not just in the United States. Now, the real picture, it is not that black Americans suddenly stopped being silent. Their voices were more visible now, their platforms are more bigger now, and more people are listening. So if you think that black people started talking now, I think it is high time you know that black people, especially black Americans, can no longer be silent, no matter what you do, no matter how you're trying to twist it, no matter how you're trying to make it look like. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section. Credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. And for disclaimers, educational purposes only. Thank you so much for staying stick and hook with me to the end of this video. With that being said, with no further ado, I do like I say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys.